Okay, so what's your guys' names?
I'm Beverly Priest. This is my sister Norma.
Norma? Norma and Beverley? Okay. How are you guys doing today?
Doing alright.
That's good.
A little chilly.
Yeah. That's why I wore this big coat. So what do you guys think happens when somebody dies?
I'm an Adventist. I believe in heaven. Yeah. I believe less in hell than I do in heaven, which most people would think is weird, but I'm one of those people who just generally goes with hell was invented by the Catholic Church to get more people to go.
Is that the Seventh Day Adventist?
Yeah.
A Mormon?
No.
No? Okay. Just trying to... Okay, I know what that is.
Yeah, there's a small church. It's like a good 4 miles from here.
Yeah. It broke off from the Methodist Church in the late 1800s. Mid to late 1800s. It's the church that our parents raised us in, but our grandfather on our dad's side is a Methodist pastor, so we've been exposed to both. I'm more agnostic, so I feel more like when you die, like you pass on. Like if you feel like you have to watch over people, you're there in spirit, but for the most part, once you're done, you're done. I've never focused too much on it because we only get one try in this life, and there's no guarantees on the next one, so might as well enjoy it while you're here.
Also, so if the threat of punishment is the only thing keeping you from it being, you're still
Very true.
Because seriously, be nice because it's the right thing to do. It's not hard. It is just the easiest thing to do, not being terrible to people. I mean, even just ignoring them is better than what some people do. People all want to collectively punch in the face because of things they think about my girlfriend.
So, do you believe in God's existence?
Yeah. I believe that if there is a higher power, he doesn't give enough to intervene, to be honest with you, because if we look at all the terrible things that have happened over human history, even over the course of the last 200 years, if there is a God, he's extremely hands-off. And there's little things where they call it miracles because they just don't understand the science behind it, and that's my feeling. I feel like we just don't understand the science behind it. There were people that would pass out and would be in a form of a diabetic coma, and people would assume that they were dead because we didn't have enough we didn't have enough science to understand what really happened. And so to make sure people weren't buried alive, they would bury them with a horn. If you don't know enough about the human body to be able to determine if somebody's actually dead or not, don't bury them. But also, we should be more aware.
Yeah, there was that one, there's this one person who said it was a miracle because her dad stopped at a green light. It just kind of froze for a bit when it turned, and then this car came barreling through, and I'm like, odds are your dad had a seizure. It was just really good timing.
Yeah. I have seizures all I've got a form of epilepsy which gives me what's called petite mole seizures or absentee seizures. So my brain freezes occasionally and it stops me from being able to drive, which I totally understand. I wouldn't want to drive anyway, knowing that, one badly timed seizure and I'm taking out not only myself but other potential drivers or pedestrians. I don't think that's fair. I'd rather walk. And Uber and Lyft have been very good to me. Expensive, but good to me. But there's science behind a lot of stuff that we just dismiss or don't look into because it makes somebody uncomfortable. Also, it doesn't explain why so many hardcore traditionalist Christians are racist. Because if we're all created in God's image, why are you hating on people of color? Because they're obviously made in God's image too. So, where's the disconnect there? You know, how do you explain that? How do you defend that? How do you define that? If we're created in God's image, why are we sexual beings? That's a good question there, because there's only one God. Supposedly, according to the Christian faith, there's only one God. You know, and he created this with his ultimate cosmic power, to quote Robin Williams. And you knew where their quote was from, and that's all that matters. But it's true. You know, like, if we're created in God's image, why do we have these urges? You know, like, did he create that? Is he like that? Or she? We don't know for sure. The Bible doesn't actually say, by the way. It doesn't give God a gender. Not in the original translations, anyway.
Well, it does.
Not in the original translations. In the original Hebrew, it does not define God as a man. I'd also like to point out that the Bible was written by men. There is an entire book, well, collection of books called the Apocrypha that are Gospels that didn't make it into the Bible because the Catholic Church considered them too controversial. Like, did you know Mary Magdalene wrote a Gospel? No. Why? Because it's not in the Bible. Why? Because the Catholic Church considered it too controversy.
Well, it didn't line up with the other books of the Bible. It contradicted the other books of the Bible. So to answer your question about the free will, so in the beginning, God created everything perfect, and he created Adam in the image of himself, and God is free will, so he gave Adam free will. And
but did he truly give Adam free will? That's the question, because how do you have free will without knowledge? How do you make the good decision when you don't know you can make the bad decision?
You don't even have the knowledge to know what is the bad decision, really.
You really don't.
all right, let me finish this. So he gave Adam free will, the ability to choose right from wrong, to do what's right and wrong, and then he put Adam to sleep and took one of his ribs out and created Eve from his rib, and then he told them that they could eat from any tree in the Garden of Eden except for one. They could eat any fruit from that tree, any other tree except for one. And Satan, a fallen angel, he tempted Eve, and Adam was standing right next to her. He didn't stop her or anything. Satan tempted Eve to disobey God, and Eve fell into that temptation and disobeyed God. And so basically, sin is disobedience to God. Anytime we do something that God doesn't want us to do, we're sinning, we're disobeying him. It's lawlessness. And so everything was perfect, and then sin entered the world. And now everything that God created that was perfect is no longer perfect. We live in a fallen creation, and bad things happen because sin, right? Like, we die, family members die, kittens die, autoimmune diseases happen, just bad stuff happens. People make evil desires, evil choices because of temptation. So, do you guys think that God is happy with you or mad at you?
I honestly think that if God is real, then he's not mad. To be honest with you, I think anybody who believes that if you don't believe in God, that you're immediately going to hell is because if God is truly a just and loving God, he's not going to hold it against somebody. Like, I donate money to charity, specifically St. Jude right now, but I donate money to charity whenever I can. You know, like, I do regular, well, at least before the shutdown happened, I did regular walks for causes. Like, I would walk for juvenile diabetes, I would walk for childhood obesity. I give back to my community. I would cover for a coworker if she was sick or had a family issue and had to go home. I don't think that, like, if there is a true, just and loving God, that he's going to look at me and say, oh no, but you turned away from the Christian faith because too many people so I'm gonna bar your way. You know, I don't think that there's anything in my life that I've done that could justify that. And there's way too many people that gatekeep like that. And if we're made in his image, is this really the way? Is this the way that he would want us to be thinking? That we can be good people, we can donate to our community, we can uplift people in their lives, we can support others, family members, complete strangers. I once took 20 minutes to explain to a woman how to fix her Fitbit. It wasn't my job. I technically wasn't working at the time, but she needed the help and I knew the answer. So I stood there, I took out my notebook so that she could write down notes, so that she could have them for later, for reference in case she forgot. You know, that's the type of person I am. That's how I see myself, it's how others see me. And I try to better myself all the time. To truly believe that someone like me is going to hell just because I don't believe in one Christian God is a fallacy. You know, it doesn't make any kind of sense. And that's my viewpoint on it. There's no way that he's looking down as like, okay, that one person was raised in two different faiths but came from a semi-abusive household and so decided my doctrine and decided to leave. I'm gonna punish her for that. You know, that's not my fault.
Yeah, so to answer your question about does God want us to act good, well, like try to do good things, what you were getting to say, he actually states in the Bible that no one is good except God. Jesus said no one is good but God. And so all of our good works,
what he said was nobody is truly free from sin, that all have sinned and fallen short of the grace of God. He does not actually say that there's no such thing as a good person.
Well, I believe it's Mark 10 verse 8. Somebody refers to Jesus as a good teacher, and Jesus says, "Why do you call me good? There's no one good except God." And I forget what you said, but it brought up a good point. I was thinking about it this whole time. Okay, so you're Beverly, and what did you say your name was?
Norma.
Okay. What did you say?
Norma.
Norma? Okay, I'm really bad with names.
Don't worry about it.
So, do you think God is happy with you or mad at you?
I like to think God is happy with me.
Happy with you? Do you think he's doing anything that he frowned upon? Do you think you'd be doing anything that God frowns upon? No?
Nope.
Okay. Do you guys think that you're a good person?
I like to think so. Like, judging by the morals of society, yeah.
Good is subjective, but yeah.
Okay. So one way we can tell if we're a good person or not is by looking at the 10 Commandments. It's called the Law of Moses, the moral law. When we look at the moral law, it's like looking into a mirror. We see the reality of how God sees us. So, if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to ask you about 4 questions. Have you ever told a lie?
Yes. I've lied to my parents multiple occasions.
Okay. And what about you, Norma?
Not in recent years, but yeah, when I was little.
Okay. So, what would you call somebody who tells lies?
It depends on what they were lying about and why they were lying.
Some people lie for their own safety, like telling your homophobic parents, "No, you're not gay," because you really don't want to end up eating garbage for a living. So, it's a really unfortunate situation.
So, if I told a lie, no matter how long ago it was, or what kind of lie, if it was a white lie, a black lie, any kind of lie, a small lie, big lie, why don't you call me a liar?
That's what contrition's for. You ask God for forgiveness, he forgives you, your sin is washed away. That's the whole reason why Jesus died on the cross. It's why before, when Jesus died, you would write your sin down in the tabernacle and, wait, no, not in the tabernacle, that's a lie. You would confess your sins to the priest and he would write them down. And then at the end of the year, everything would be washed away. You don't carry your sin with you. Like, just because you lied once doesn't make you a liar. It just makes that unfortunate sin happen. That's why the whole forgiveness things works. You're forgiven by God when you ask for forgiveness. Your soul is wiped clean and you are made pure.
So, how many lies does somebody have to tell to become a liar? 10 and a bell rings?
I say the person isn't considered a liar until it's a habitual offense and they don't feel shame for it. If you lie and you ask for forgiveness, that is you're genuinely remorseful for what you did, whether it's to the person you lied to your spiritual advisor, to God as a whole. It doesn't matter. If you're not a liar until you can lie to somebody and feel no remorse for it, where you can say to them, your hair is purple and I like it that way, and not feel bad about saying that, and you want to convince that person of that lie, then you're a liar. Let's see.
Remorse is a big part of forgiveness. Actual, genuine remorse.
Right, but we're not talking about forgiveness here. We're just talking about lying. So, like, if I was lying to you and you got really mad at me, you'd probably call me a liar, right? Am I wrong?
If you weren't remorseful for it, yeah, sure.
Even if I was remorseful, I'd still be a liar. Like, if somebody murders someone, they're forever a murderer, right? If I lie in court, I'm legally a liar. I can go to jail for lying. That's how serious lying is.
And contempt of court.
So I've told lies in my life, so I'd be considered a liar. Would you guys be liars? It's kind of hard to admit, to say it about ourselves. It's easier to call other people liars.
I don't tend to call people liars. What was his name? Clay Burnett. I had him as a gym teacher my freshman year of high school. I was at a private school. He called them hot and cold sins. When you take the 10 Commandments and the ones that are more harmful physically towards others versus ones that aren't, like lying, he said it's just as important that you remember that thou shalt not lie is a sin, even though in that lie you could technically not hurt anybody, because what you're doing there is you're damaging your own soul and your connection to God. And he said you make it right by confessing, you make it right by being remorseful, by telling the truth, by asking for forgiveness, that no person should be forced to carry the stain of that. Like, just because you told lies when you were younger doesn't mean that that's who you are as a whole, and you shouldn't be labeled as such. It's like calling sex workers a whore. It's not her fault that that's her job and that you see it in a negative light. It's foul language and you shouldn't label her as such. It's also, like the people that are purchasing, they should equally carry the burden, but they don't, because she's repeating the act and they're just enjoying the consequences.
Okay, so this is what the Bible says about lying. It's very serious to God. That's why it's a commandment, and he says that lying lips are detestable to him. God is truth, and lying is the opposite of him. He hates it. So it's very serious. The Bible says that all liars will end up in hell. So that's the first question. You guys haven't admitted to being a liar, but you've said you've lied.